I'm going to be late. I know it.
Nonsense, Mrs. C. We're hours ahead of schedule.
I do hope that Pauline ain't going to prove unreliable.
I'll go and look for her if you like.
It's rush hour, ain't it?
But honest, we've got plenty of time.
I've heard of people taking 4 hours just to get to work.
I'll go and look for her.
And bring the car round, just in case.
Rightio.
You'll find the loose change in the bus.
Look, I do know where it is. You don't have to tell me.
Yes, and there's just a chance that that soap dispenser might jam. Now, what I do is
Let's get someone to jiggle it, yes. I mean, I've worked here before,
When you're ready, Mrs. C.
Oh, and I've noticed there's a lot of people just coming in for a warm. Well, we don't want no loitering, so just tell them to move along. Be firm, and they'll go.
Yes.
Traffic will be building
Yes,
up.
well, I'd better go off then.
People have served half his sentence by the time we get there.
Now, we'll have less of that, Nigel.
Just lighten the mood, Mrs. C.
Oh, and don't drink nothing, because the last thing I want to come back to is an irate customer.
Yes, stop.
Oh, whatever's happened?
No, nothing, Ma. Got into a little argument, that's all.
Who with?
Just one of the lads.
Have you reported it?
Do me a favour. You don't rat in your own kind.
Oh, I don't know. If I've told you once, I've told you a dozen times. You can at least try to be civil to people.
It's easy for you to say, isn't it? With a warm house and telly to go home to. You've got a lot to be civil about. It's a waste of time you even coming here. Don't know why you bothered.
Well, how can I not come? You're all I got.
You ain't got me, Ma. Not anymore. The system's got me. And I'm going down for life.
Oh, Nick. What's got into you? You've got to have faith. I mean, it ain't as if you meant to do what you done.
You think that makes any difference?
Well, of course it does. I mean, everybody will see that. The jury, the judge. All they're going to do is send you away for a little to rehabilitate you.
You know what I think, Ma?
What?
I ain't never coming out of here. I reckon I'll end up dying in some pokey little cell somewhere. And it won't matter a damn to anyone. Especially you.
The police have been ever so friendly to me.
Of course they have. You're their star witness.
Yeah. They keep telling me how important my testimony's going to be.
Can't you see what they're doing?
What?
They're trying to turn you against me. So by the time you're standing there in front of that jury, you'll be ready to see me hang just like the rest of them.
Oh, don't say that. All I'm going to do is tell the truth.
So in your own words, what is the truth, eh, Ma?
Well, that you stabbed Eddie Royle.
And you saw all that, did you?
Well, no, of course I didn't, but you told me you did.
Look, Ma, I was all over the place then. I was coming off smack, for God's sake. I mean, I'd have confessed to carrying out war crimes if they'd asked me. Well, you know what I was like. I was in a right old state.
You told me you killed Eddie Royle.
No, Ma, I never did. What I told you was that I admitted I went out that night. Don't you remember?
Why don't you do that? I know what you're doing and it won't work, because you pulled the wool over my eyes too many times before. I know what you told me, and much as it breaks me heart, that's what I'm going to tell them when they ask me.
If that's what you want to do, then that's fine by me. But don't you ever try and call me your son again.
Oh,
Penny from.
then I'll give me a start. I were miles away.
I bet. You could be there this afternoon, you know. I'll get the car and take you.
No, thank you, Nigel. It's ever so good of you, but I don't think I can face Nick again.
Yeah, well, don't worry, Mrs. C. As soon as you get up in that witness box, be plain as a nose on your face. You're telling the truth.
Yeah, but what's true? When my truth could put my Nick away for life. If not his, mine.
No, not really. Life don't mean forever. More like 10 years. There's 3 for good behaviour. You'll be seeing your Nick back on a square long before you're ready for the big off.
Oh, Nigel. Oh, you're a great comforter. Job could have done with you around. Wouldn't have needed the other 3. Tea?
Cheers. Nice looking kid, this one Pat slammed into.
Oh, don't, Nigel. Oh, a poor mother.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
2 people going about their lives. One just walking back from a party, the other driving around doing a job. And bang. Only takes a few seconds. 2 lives ruined.
One life gone for good, Nigel. Perhaps it's only just frayed round the edges. And it were her fault.
Barnes wants to clear up a few points about the confession. Help him prepare the case. Look, there could be something that was missed before. So, if you'll just answer Mr. Barnes.
Well, Mr. Cotton, let's start at the beginning, before you made the statement. You were in custody, of course. Were you feeling under any sort of pressure at the time? From any sort of intimidation, physical or otherwise?
I don't know why you bother.
What?
Why do you bother? Apart from the fee for coming here today, of course.
No, Nick.
Look, he knows I'm going down, you know I'm going down. I even know it myself.
That's not so. You're going to be defended, and as long as there is a defence... Nick, you're going to have to snap out of this before we go to court. Impressions count. What sort of impression do you think you're making now? Think about it, Nick. We'll be back.
Hello, Mom.
No. Now, you got to look smart in the court tomorrow, so I brought in your suit and your tie. You know, the ones what we wore at Charlie's funeral.
Charming.
God bless him. And I've left money for your tobacco with the man at the door.
Might be something left once he's finished, I suppose. So how are you?
All right. You know.
You spoken to anyone?
Who?
The old Bill, of course. Who else?
Oh. Well, at least they rang me at work, you know, to tell me they'd be picking me up tomorrow morning.
Crafty sods.
Who?
Can't you see what they're doing?
What?
They're buttering you up, so you'll say what they want.
I'm only going to tell them the truth.
Oh, yeah, and what's that then?
Well, what I saw. What you told me. Anyway, I've already told the police what you said.
Yeah, I know. But what matters is what you say tomorrow.
I can't lie, Nick.
I ain't asking you to lie.
Well, what are you asking me to do then?
Just remember what I was like. Tell them I didn't know what I was saying. I was delirious.
But you wasn't.
Of course I was, you stupid old bat. You gave me drugs and you been locked up for weeks.
Yes, but I was trying to get you off them drugs.
No, I mean before that. You went out and bought me stuff, didn't you? It's you, Ma. You made me like that.
I didn't.
I wouldn't be here now if you'd left me alone. And now I'm in court tomorrow for killing someone. And it weren't my fault. You got to tell them that. Tell them I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, I don't know that, do I? I only know what you told me.
You believe that, your own flesh and blood?
I don't know what I believe.
Some mother you are. Put your own son behind bars.
I didn't. I haven't.
Tell lies about me, lock me up, get me so I don't know I'm coming or going.
Nick.
Get myself to try and run away. If you hadn't locked me up, I wouldn't have to do that, would I? I wouldn't even be there!
Nick!
All right. All right, I'm sorry. I'm just frightened, that's all.
I didn't do nothing. It weren't my fault.
I know that, Ma. Everyone does. But you got to help me. You're the only one who can. This is happening.
It really isn't that unusual, Nick.
Oh, well, that's all right then. That makes me feel much better, that does.
Just relax. I've heard about Wakeham. She's good.
Relax, he says. It's all right for you. It's all in a day's work for you, innit? Be some other mug next week.
Nobody's going to make you go into court unless you're happy with your counsel.
Mr. Cotton, I'm Jennifer Wakeham. We haven't much time. I suggest we get straight down to it.
I didn't do it, you know. It was an accident.
I'm sure the jury will arrive at the right decision based on the evidence put before them. Now, I have here the brief, including the transcript of the police interview tapes. Your so-called confession.
Yeah, they made me say all that.
It was very obliging of them. I quite like it. Now, it says here, and I quote, "He just kept pushing me back."
Yeah, that's right. I was just trying to get past him.
To go where?
I don't know, anywhere. Just to get away.
And he prevented you from doing so?
Yeah.
Good. And you'd had no dealing up to this point?
What sort of dealing?
You hadn't argued or fought before this particular night?
I never said more than 2 words to the geezer.
And he initiated the confrontation?
Eh?
He stopped you physically from going past him?
Yeah, like I said, he started pushing me.
Accident within self-defence?
Yeah, that's it. That's what it was. An accident.
And you'd like me to represent you?
Can you get me out of here?
I've no idea. But from what I've seen so far, I think we can prepare a solid enough case.
Yeah. All right, then.
Good. I'll try and justify such an enthusiastic response. Now, I have a very definite flaw in my character, Mr. Cotton. I loathe surprises. Aside from what Trevor's told me and what's in here, is there anything else you ought to tell me?
Nah, can't think of nothing.
I'd rather you were a little more emphatic.
Nah, that's it.
Right. Well, let's just run through some of the main points, shall we? Make sure I haven't missed anything.
Oh, good luck, Pete. Doc.
Oh, Mrs. Cotton. How are you feeling this morning?
Fine, thank you.
Would you like to take a seat? Can I get you a cup of tea or something?
Come on, Doc. Do you good.
What do you think?
She seems to have grasped the case very quickly.
Is she any good, though?
Just relax. We'll be going up soon.
What was all that about liking my confession? I thought we were going to try and scrap all that.
You'd do well to take her advice. If she's happy, there must be a very good reason.
This accident thing she was going on about. Do you think it'll work?
Like she says, there's no guarantees.
If it does, I'll walk, right? Oh, I just wish she was a geezer.
I don't think that matters.
What was the wrong time of the month or something? I could go down because she's got PMT.
Right. I'll see you upstairs, then.
Won't be long now, Dot.
He's really alone, isn't he? My Nick, I mean.
He'll have someone with him. His solicitor, the barrister.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't really care what happens to him, do they, Pete?
Of course they do. It's their job.
Yes, but they don't care like I do they?
Dot, they're going to do their best for him.
Yeah, but it ain't the same. I mean, all these people here, there's no one here to speak up for him. They're all against him. Even me.
You're not against him. You're just there to say what you saw and heard, same as the rest of us.
Yeah, but you don't want him to get off, do you, Pete?
I'll do if he's innocent.
Yeah, but you don't think that, do you?
Dot, it's not down to me one way or the other. I mean, that's why we're here. To put everything in the open. And then it's up to the jury.
He hates it in that prison. We're all here to see that he stays there.
We're here to tell the truth.
That's important, isn't it, Pete? Telling the truth.
Yes, it's important.
Could the indictment be put?
Please stand up. Are you Nicholas Charles Cotton?
Yes.
Nicholas Charles Cotton, you are charged on the indictment with murder, and the particulars of that offence are that you, on the 10th day of September 1991, murdered Edward John Royle. Are you guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
He kept pushing me, shoving me back.
What happened then, Nick?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I just remember him pushing me. I I fell back against the railings, and he grabbed me. Here.
By the lapel?
Yeah. Sort of forcing my head back, so I wouldn't move. All the time I was saying, let me go, get off me, but he wouldn't listen. He just kept pushing.
Is that when you stabbed him?
I didn't stab him. He still had hold of me here, forcing my head back. I couldn't really see, but we were both holding the knife. He must have just gone in then, because I felt him loosen his grip on me.
What must have gone in, Nick?
The knife. I felt all his sticky stuff on my hands. I looked down and saw it was blood. I thought it was mine at first, but he cut me. He was just laying there, on his back, and there was blood all over his shirt, at the front. Here.
On his chest?
Yeah. I knew he was dead, but there was nothing I could do.
Then what happened?
Well, I was scared. My hands were shaking. I just stood there. It was like I wasn't there. It felt like ages. I don't suppose it was more than a minute.
Then what did you do, Nick?
Well, I ran. I ran home. I thought I'd be safe there.
Detective Chief Inspector Chapman, during your evidence you referred to the knife as, and I quote, Cotton's knife.
Yes, my lord.
On what do you base your belief that the knife actually belonged to the defendant?
I'm sorry, my lord, that would appear to be obvious.
Not to me, it's not. Nor perhaps to the members of the jury. I'll repeat the question. On what do you base your belief that the knife actually belonged to the defendant?
I didn't see where else it could have come from.
So you assumed it belonged to the defendant?
Yes.
Did you make any inquiries concerning this knife?
Yes.
Would you describe these to the court?
We visited a number of retailers in the area known to stock knives of a similar nature.
To try and establish whether the defendant had bought such a knife?
Yes.
And what was the result of these inquiries?
Well, as far as we could ascertain, no one in the area could remember selling such a knife to Mr. Cotton, but we did
Thank you. You also told my learned friend that you believed the defendant to be in a drug-induced state. We've heard evidence this morning from the pathologist, Dr. Harris, that there was only one wound.
That's correct.
So during this frenzied attack by a drug-crazed assailant, Mr. Royle was stabbed just once?
Yes.
I'm obliged. Oh, one more question, Detective Chief Inspector. How many people did you arrest in connection with the death of Eddie Royle before you arrested the defendant?
2.
No more questions.
I just have a few questions in re-examination, my lord. Detective Chief Inspector, you talked about contacting retailers in the area concerning the knife. By the area, I take it you meant London?
Yes.
But could not this knife have been bought anywhere? Or indeed stolen?
Yes, my lord. Once we had exhausted all known retailers in the London area, we began to widen our search, knowing that Mr. Cotton had only just recently returned to his mother's home in London.
A mammoth task, I assume.
Indeed. Not knowing which area Mr. Cotton had resided in before returning to London made this task virtually impossible.
And did you ask Mr. Cotton where he'd been staying before returning to his mother's home in London?
Yes, I did, but he wouldn't be specific.
If my learned friend will forgive me, nowhere in your evidence do I recall you referring to Mr. Cotton as being drug-crazed. Do you remember ever describing him as such?
No, my lord.
Thank you.
So, you don't think I should say anything to him then?
Well, what good was that? She's gone, she's gone.
Yes, but it was my fault though, wasn't it?
Oh, leave it. Look, it's not your fault, it's hers. She should never have come back.
Do you know, it was funny. I thought I'd put it all behind me, that it was history, but seeing her like that...
Must have been quite a conversation you had. To have her jumping in a cab 5 minutes later.
To tell you the truth, I can't remember what I said now.
Well, I've learnt an important lesson.
What's that?
I must remember never to get on the wrong side of you.
I just feel I should tell you and explain why I did what I did. I just feel so awful going behind his back like that.
Can you tell the court in your own words what happened on the night of September the 10th?
Yeah. I was leaving Mark's place. Mark Fowler, that is.
Which is where exactly?
45 Albert Square, Walford. I'd been staying there for a while. My mum had come to pick me up to drive me home. This was just after 11. Anyway, we drove round the square. We were on our way out when I saw someone climbing down a drain pipe outside one of the houses.
Which house was this?
Mrs. Cotton's.
And did you see who it was who was climbing down the drain pipe?
Yeah. It was Nick. Nick Cotton.
Surely it was dark. And if he was climbing down the drain pipe, he must have had his back to you.
No, I'm positive. He turned round as we drove past. I could see him in the headlights.
Clearly?
Very.
So there is no doubt in your mind that he was in fact the defendant you saw?
None, no.
I'm obliged.
No questions, my lord.
Dorothy? How are you? You mind? You know, I don't mind telling you it was a bit of a shock when I heard it was your boy that they had charged. Well, it must have been a shock for you, too.
Eddie was a good boy.
Yeah, I think so.
I wanted to write to you, you know, but I didn't know where you was.
Oh, thanks, but there was no need.
Well, I just felt, you know, I wanted to do something.
Yeah, well, we all try to do what's right, you know, but, I mean, who knows what's right with something like this? I mean, it's hardly something that you're prepared for now, is it? I mean, take me, for instance, you know. I thought long and hard about coming here.
Don't think I would have come.
It's very strange. Thought it would be difficult. And I was even prepared to leave after this morning. But then, well, in a strange sort of way, I found it comforting.
Found it comforting?
Yeah. To hear them all talking about him and to know that he wasn't forgotten. And then with all this going on, well, it's as if he was important, as if he mattered.
Well, of course he mattered.
Yes, but no one deserves to die like that, all alone.
No.
Oh, I won't lie to you, Dot. I mean, I've got no axe to grind with you. And I certainly wish you no harm. But I sincerely hope that they lock up Nick and throw away the key for what he did.
Oh, well, I can't blame you for that. I mean, an eye for an eye. Son for a son. Probably be me what puts him there.
You?
Yeah.
What? You mean you're going to give evidence against Nick?
Yeah. Well, you see, he told me everything. Before the police come.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I don't envy you that.
Oh, well, like you say. Got to try to do what's right.
What happened, Dottie? Tell me. Where did it all go wrong, huh?
I thought I said he was all right.
All right?
Yeah, well, I thought you might be ill.
No. Oh, I just thought I'd take a day off, you know, catch up on some paperwork. How's Kath?
Fine.
The improvements going okay?
So far.
Good.
So, everything's all right then?
Yeah, it's all right, yeah.
Right.
Oh, come on, let's get this over and done with.
What?
Well, since when have you taken time off at the busiest period of the day to come and see how I am?
Look, Richard saw you earlier in the Vic. He said you looked a bit down. Yes.
Well, what do you want me to do? Open up my arms wide and say, hello, Daddy?
Oh, come on, love. There's no need to be like that.
Well, it's hardly any of his business how I am, is it?
No, it's not, but it is mine. Look, I know you and Richard don't get on, but that's because you don't know him.
No, I know him better than you think.
Look, he's good for me, Ian. That's the only thing that should matter to you.
Oh, what's this? Respect your choice in partners?
If you like, yeah.
Well, that's a bit rich coming from you, isn't it?
What?
Well, what about Cindy? What about the respect for her? I mean, what is it, Mum? Is it one rule for you and another for me?
That's not fair.
Why not?
Because she was different. I saw what she did to you.
I was there too. And if I can live with it, I don't see why you can't. Well, not that it matters now, anyway.
Why, what do you mean?
Well, she was here. I mean, her and Stephen. I didn't tell you because I knew what your reaction was going to be. She had nowhere else to go. I said she could stay till she sorted herself out.
Oh.
What, no lecture?
Would it do any good?
No. First night she was here, we just sat there and talked till about 4 o'clock in the morning. Exercised a few ghosts. The next day she was gone. Oh, she left a note, I mean, said it'd never work and too much has happened. Made interesting reading. You could have written it.
Well, did you get a chance to talk to her before she left?
No.
I'm sorry, love.
Oh, yeah?
What the hell's going on? They're saying whatever they like out there, and she's just letting them get away with it.
It's early days still, Nick. Prosecution counsel will have finished soon. Then it will be our turn.
Yeah, it might be too sodding late by then. Why did she tear into that Joe geezer? She never even asked him one question, nor that doctor bloke.
There was no need. We're not disputing the fact that you were in the square or how Eddie Royle died.
So what are we flaming disputing?
That you murdered him.
I see the jury's faces. Climbing down drain pipes, drugs. Ex-copper gets stabbed taking his dog for a walk. My prints all over the knife.
And nothing's been said so far that you haven't already said in your statements to the police.
Yeah, but it sounds bad when someone else says it. She should have a go at them. Make it look like they're lying.
Things will sound better once she starts the case for the defence, Nick.
So how many witnesses she calling then, eh? How many people is she going to get to stand up there and tell them I didn't do it?
The onus is on the prosecution to prove the charge. All we need is reasonable doubt.
Yeah, but there ain't any so far, is there? I'm going down. I know it. Can't we get rid of her? Get someone in who knows what they're up to?
Look, Jennifer knows exactly what she's doing. Everything that's happened so far is as we expected.
Well, excuse me if I don't start jumping up and down with excitement.
A lot will depend on how your mother holds up.
She'll be all right.
But in what way?
Well, she ain't going to help them, is she? I'm her only son.
Her statement to the police seems quite comprehensive.
Don't matter. I know her. She won't say nothing to hurt me. Not when it comes down to it.
Jennifer was quite keen that we discuss your mother's statement.
How do you mean?
If she repeats what she said in her police interviews, it could make things difficult. Which means we might have to try and discredit her.
So?
It could get a bit rough. Things might have to be said.
What things?
Well, that's for Jennifer to decide, but it could be quite upsetting for your mother.
Oh, might have to lay into her, you mean?
Only if there's no other way. But if you don't want that to happen, now is the time to say.
You must be joking.
You sure that's what you want?
Look, what I want is out of this place. Now, if you have to rip that old bat into shreds, then that's fine by me. Just get me a result.
Dorothy Cotton.
Take the book in your right hand and read the words on the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the old truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
You are Dorothy Cotton, 25 Albert Square, Walford, East London. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you are the mother of the defendant, Nicholas Cotton.
Yes.
Mrs. Cotton, I'm interested in the night of September the 10th, 1991, the night of Eddie Royle's death. I'd like you to explain to the court the events of that night. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand. Where do you want me to start?
You spent the evening with a Mr. Peter Beale. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, shall we begin from when he left?
Yeah, all right. Well, like you said, Pete come round, Peter Beale, and we was playing cards, draw the well dry, and it got late, you know, about 11:30, and Pete got up and said that he got to go home, so I went with him, you know, to the door, and then Pete had gone, and I turned to go indoors, and I saw someone running across the square.
My lord, that was later discovered to be Mr. Clyde Tavernier. The relevant pages are 145 to 160, but Mr. Tavernier will be called to give evidence later.
Is it necessary for the jury to understand Mr. Tavernier's actions at this point in order to understand Mrs. Cotton's evidence?
No, my lord. If my learned friend has no objections?
No objection, my lord.
Very well.
I'm obliged, my lord. Please continue, Mrs. Cotton.
Well, like I said, I saw someone running across the square. Well, I didn't know who it was then, of course, you know, and of course I didn't think nothing of it, because kids was always running around the square, you see. But it was then that I saw Roly.
Roly?
Eddie's dog. Well, it wasn't his really, but he was looking after him, you know, on account of running the pub.
Quite. So you saw Mr. Royle's dog. Was he still on his lead?
Yes, only it was sort of dangling down, so I knew something was wrong. You know, I thought perhaps he'd run off or something, so I went across the road to get him.
And did you see anyone else before you crossed the road to collect the dog? Mrs. Cotton?
Sorry?
Did you see anyone else before you collected Mr. Royle's dog?
Yes.
Who?
Well, I turned round and I saw Nick at the window.
You saw your son looking down on the square.
Yes.
What did you do next?
Well, I picked up Rowley's lead and I tried to take him to the Vic, but he pulled away, pulled into the garden. And it was then that I saw Eddie.
And where was he exactly?
Well, he was in the square in the garden. I thought it was a tramp or something at first. And I saw the blood.
And what did you do then?
Well, I tried to scream or shout for help, but nothing come out. And I just stood there shaking. And then I ran to the phone box and I dialed 999, you know, and I think I asked for an ambulance. Yeah. Yeah, I asked for an ambulance. And then I went back. And it was then I realised that he weren't breathing. So I just sat beside him on the ground. And then the ambulance come and the police. And they took me indoors.
Mrs. Cotton, you said earlier you looked up at your son's window. Why was that?
Well, I don't know really. I just turned round and saw him there.
And could you see him clearly?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, street lights was on.
How did he seem to you?
See?
Did he seem agitated, frightened?
Don't lead.
Did you notice anything at all about him?
No, he was just standing there, normal like.
He didn't have the look of a man who'd just been involved in a terrible accident.
Oh, please.
Mr. Moore, I think the witness has made it clear what she saw.
My lord. Mrs. Cotton, I'd like you, if you could, to cast your mind forward a few months later to the week before Christmas of the same year. In particular, to the night of December the 17th. Your son was still living at home, was he not?
Yes.
Can you remember the events of December the 17th?
I don't think I shall ever forget him.
I'd like you to explain to the court, in your own words, the events of that day. Please, take your time.
Well, I was getting ready for Christmas, you know, and Pete come round.
Peter Beale?
Yeah, that's right. Only he'd just heard that Joe, that's Mark's friend, that he'd gone to the police to tell him that he'd seen Nick out on the square that night. Only we'd always thought that he was in his room. So I went to look for Nick, to ask him if it was true.
And what did he say?
Well, he denied it. He said that this Joe was lying, you know, and that he'd never left his room.
And you believed him?
Well, I wanted to.
But you didn't?
No. I asked him why he'd lied to me. Why he was out on the square that night. Why he'd lied to the police. And then he told me. He got out because he needed to get drugs. He was desperate. It was then I knew that he'd done it. I'm sorry, Nick, but I've got to tell him the truth. I've got to tell him what happened. I've got to.
Done what, Mrs. Cotton? What did you know he'd done?
Killed Eddie. I said to him it was you. You done it. I know you did. And I told him to tell me the truth. Stop lying. And it was then that he told me.
He told you that he killed Eddie Royle? Do you recall his exact words?
He's not a bad boy, not really, not deep down. I mean, he doesn't mean to do the things he does.
Mrs. Cotton, do you recall his exact words?
Well, he said that Eddie kept pushing him, trying to stop him from getting away. Eddie wouldn't let go of him, you know, he just kept pushing him. And then he said something about a knife, you know, now they fought, now the knife went in, you know, in Eddie, and that he killed him. But, I mean, he wouldn't have done it, only he was desperate.
Yes?
Yeah, he was desperate. He didn't know what he was doing. I mean, my Nick couldn't kill no one.
Mrs. Cotton, did your son tell you he stabbed Eddie Royle? Mrs. Cotton?
Yes.
I wish someone would tell us what's going on.
How long's she been in there now?
Just under half an hour.
Mrs. Cotton, I wonder if you would explain to the court and the members of the jury why you say your son climbed down the drain pipe from his room, rather than leaving by a more traditional route, such as the door.
Well, He was locked in.
Locked in?
Yeah, well, it was for his own good. We was trying to help him.
Help him?
Yeah, Pete and me. We was trying to get him off drugs, you see. Heroin. Well, it was killing him. I mean, we had to do something.
So you locked him in an upstairs room?
Yes.
What about the windows?
Well, Pete nailed them up. He put wooden bars across them.
You're saying you locked your son in his room in an effort to stop him taking drugs, a sort of enforced cold turkey?
Yeah, that's right.
So you're a trained nurse?
Pardon?
You have some experience, then, of drug rehabilitation techniques?
Well, no.
Are you seriously telling the court you attempted to wean your son off drugs by simply locking him in his bedroom?
I know what it sounds like, but I only done what I thought was for the best. You know, we had to do something. He was killing himself.
I'm not here to pass judgment on your ability as a mother, Mrs. Cotton. I'm sure the jury will make up their own minds about that. During your son's incarceration, did you at any time see your son with a knife?
No.
Did he have access to any other part of the house where he could have obtained a knife?
No, the door was locked and bolted.
I see. During this DIY rehabilitation program, there must have been times when your son was frantic, confused, angry even, as he suffered the inevitable withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah.
Sufficiently so that he had to be restrained?
Well, he got very angry sometimes. You know, it wasn't him, it was the drugs. You know, he was in pain. And then I had to go and get Pete, you know, because I wasn't strong enough.
He must have been desperate.
Yeah.
In fact, I would suggest when the pain of withdrawal was at its worst, he would have done anything to get away.
Yeah.
Including using a knife if he'd had one.
I don't know.
But he didn't have one, did he, Mrs. Cotton? Nor did he have the opportunity to gain possession of one.
No, I don't know.
Oh, come now, Mrs. Cotton. You locked him in a room. You brought him meals on a tray. You denied him access even to a toilet, placing a bucket in the corner of the room. Do you honestly expect the court to believe the defendant would have endured all that if he'd had some kind of weapon to aid his escape?
Well, I don't know.
I put it to you, Mrs. Cotton. If the defendant had a knife in that room, the temptation to use it to threaten either you or Mr. Beale in order to get away would have been too great.
My lord, the witness surely can't be expected to speculate on what the defendant may or may not do.
No, don't lead, Miss Wakem.
I apologise, my lord. Did Eddie Royle know you had your son locked up in a room against his will?
Yes, I just told him.
So on seeing him on the square, he would have had good cause to try and restrain him?
Yes.
Enough cause to try and stop your son from going about his business?
My lord, my learned friend insists on asking this witness to speculate on things she can't possibly know in order to endorse her case.
Miss Wakem, that is not a proper question.
My lord. After virtually being a prisoner for some weeks, did your son express the desire to escape? To get away from you, his jailer?
Yes.
Was there any doubt in your mind that given the opportunity the defendant would try to escape?
No.
My learned friend asked you about the night of December the 17th. You say the defendant told you that Eddie Royle kept pushing him back.
Yes.
That all he wanted to do was escape.
Yes.
Now, bearing in mind that your son wanted to escape the conditions already described, do you blame him for resisting? For defending himself?
We was only trying to help him.
Do you blame him?
No.
You also said the defendant told you that while he and Royle were struggling, the knife went in.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
The knife went in. Are those his exact words?
Yes.
Not I stabbed him or I killed him, but the knife went in.
Yes, I told you.
I'm obliged.
If you take a life, you must be prepared to pay the price.
String them up, you mean?
Well, why not? Providing there's no doubt that they did it.
Yeah, but that's just it, innit? What about all the people that they've hung and then found that they were innocent later? It's a bit late for a pardon, isn't it?
Nick Cotton being innocent of anything is hard to believe.
Yeah, that's true. You all right?
Yes, why?
You been to see Ricky?
No?
He was in earlier looking for you.
So?
Sam, how long are you two going to keep this up, eh?
I don't know what you're talking about, Phil.
Look, you've only been married 5 minutes.
What, like Sharon and Grant, you mean?
I'd like you to recall a night some 4 months before the night of Eddie Royle's death. May the 9th, to be precise. There was a fight at the Queen Victoria. I believe a gang of youths from another area descended on Albert Square that evening.
Yeah, that's right.
Were you on duty that night?
Yeah.
Can you describe to the court, in your own words, what happened on the evening of May the 9th?
Well, like you said, a load of yobs came in. There was about a dozen of them, I think. They'd been in a few nights before, causing trouble and that. Anyway, this particular night, it all started up again. You know, glasses got broken, tables got turned over, and that's when Eddie came down.
Down from where?
He lived above the pub, he was up there. He tried talking to him, but the mouthiest one decided to have a go.
This was one of the gang of youths?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you know, he tried talking to them, but they wouldn't listen. He picked up a bottle, broke it on the bar and went for Eddie.
He lunged at Eddie with a broken bottle?
Yeah. Eddie was sweet, man. He just stepped out of the way, took this guy's arm, put it behind his back and took the bottle from him. Held him there till the police come.
You give the impression that he disarmed this youth with some ease.
Well, he was an ex-copper. They teach him all that, didn't they?
Indeed. How big was he? In comparison with, say, with the defendant?
Not much in it.
Roughly the same size and build?
Near enough, yeah.
So knowing Eddie Royle as you did and witnessing his actions that evening, would you say that if he was faced with a straightforward struggle, a situation whereby he had to disarm someone of equal size and build to the defendant, for example, if he was faced with such a struggle involving a knife, how do you think he would cope?
1-to-1?
Yes.
No trouble at all. Not judging by what I saw him do.
I'm obliged. Now, I'd like, if I may, to move forward to the night of September the 10th.
Come on, Todd. No one's going to think badly of you.
Yes, they do. You never heard them. Everyone was looking at me. You tell what they was thinking.
Look, they weren't there. They don't understand why we done what we did. They didn't know what it was like.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that I understand what we did now. Seemed all right at the time, but listening to them...
Listen, Todd, you've done your best by him. You always had done. And no one could think more of you than that.
Suppose they're right. Suppose I did drive him to it and they lock him away for life. How am I going to live with that?
Dot, you didn't put the knife in his hand.
Yes, I did. I was good at.
No.
Yes, it was my fault, all of it. If I hadn't told Eddie, he wouldn't have tried to bring him back home, and if I hadn't locked Nick up in my room, he wouldn't have been trying to get away. So you see, they're right, whichever way you look at it. They're going to lock my Nick away for life. And it's my fault.